Welcome back to Yarn Ranger. I'm Harpita and this is a project vlog or compilation of learnings and thoughts from making the warm-up sweater by Espace Tricot. I'm recording this on a Diwali weekend, so you might hear some fireworks go off in the background. This is probably one of the fastest garments, especially sweaters, that I've knit up because it took me about 15 days and I do not knit monogamously. However, I should emphasize that this is intended for a preteen. I'm making this gift knit for a friend's younger sister. She's a crafty 5th grader and has been asking if I could knit her a sweatshirt. She wanted something that she could throw on for the commute to school or wear to get cozy. I made 6 designs and she liked the one with the blue stripes on the ribbing on the lower half and sleeves. So we went with that. She loves baby blues and pinks and chose the colors Candy Floss and Baby Blue for this project. I went with the DK Antipill yarn by hobby stores and ordered 2 balls of the candy floss and 1 ball of the baby blue. However, I have most of the pink from the second skein and a little bit of the blue remaining. It's rare for a chronic underbuyer of yarn to have some left, but I think I would have managed if I just had one of each with making the blue stripes longer, but this is alright, I can use it for a beanie or something. More on the pattern. This is a classic sweatshirt or pullover with a raglan construction. It has a crew neck with 1x1 twisted rib and is constructed top down in the round. It's a free pattern on Ravelry and comes in a total of 12 sizes. The chest circumference ranges from 40 inches or 102 centimeters up to 70 inches or 178 centimeters. The recommended positive ease for this design is 10 to 12 inches. The pattern is for an Aran weight yarn with a combination of drops air and snefnug from Comerose, but I needed the finished object to have a circumference of about 80 to 85 centimeters. So I made a gauge using the DK yarn and calculated or cross-verified the numbers before deciding to knit size 1. But I did add some extra stitches in the underarm section, which was not asked for in the pattern. I think the recommended was 3 to 4, but I ended up adding 6. For the needles, I chose 4 and 4.5mm interchangeables from my Knit Pro Mindful set. The pattern itself is very direct and I like how the instructions were given out. The twisted ribs are a simple addition that gives a very clean look. I've knit a headband with twisted rib, but I've not used it as a ribbing in garments, so that was fun. However, in the future, I think I would like to have a folded neckline with the twisted rib because I think it gives a more elevated and cleaned or finished look. I also wanted to add a folded neckline in this one, but decided against it because I didn't want there to be a sizing issue with her head not fitting through it. The pattern's very direct, well written out and crisp. It also has a schematic diagram in addition to the written pattern, which I really like. This is very handy for me because if I'm knitting outside or during my commute, I can just check the image on my phone instead of reading things over and over again or searching through blocks of text. I think I might do this for future projects where I can just draw and mention what measurements I need in which section. It's a genius idea. I also think this pattern is great for starting with short rows and raglans, but only if complemented with tutorials. I want to stress on this because while describing the short row section and the shaping part, the pattern tells you to work a GSR and does not use the terms that indicate you to explicitly turn, which a lot of patterns do. While this is not an issue for me, I can see how it would have been an issue for me if it was my first couple of patterns for raglans. But it's a very minor issue and there's no dearth for knitting help tutorials on the internet. We did a room makeover, so my printer is on a chest of drawers next to my table. It's now my go-to place to keep my works in progress and pick it up between work or study breaks. I work from home once a week and sometimes more, but I also have a lot of studying to do, and I follow 25 or 50-minute Pomodoro technique where I can focus for 25 or 50 minutes and knit for or get some movement in for the 5 or 10-minute break. It's also a great way to look away from the screen. Before I forget, I'd like to say some things about how I did the sleeves construction. I picked up the recommended number of stitches in the underarm regions and added 6 stitches instead of the recommended 3 because I saw this video on Instagram, and what they recommended was, or what they were doing was, that they picked 2 to 4 extra stitches than the pattern recommends and knitting 2 together before and after the underarm region to avoid making any holes. So I sometimes get holes in the raglan area, and this gives a much more cleaner look. It's not very clean because this particular ball of yarn had a few knots because I did not handle it properly in this section of the time that I was knitting the sweater, and also because this is where my beginning of the round is. A lot of weaving in here, but maybe you can see this region and it's very clean. The raglan ends here and it's almost invisible. I'm pretty sure that if it was like wool, it wouldn't have been even this visible because it would have just washed and blocked, right? But yeah, I'm pretty sure that with blocking this will look much more cleaner than it is right now. But I'm very happy with how the underarm looks compared to some of the previous things I've made myself. Overall, the knitting experience was wonderful. This is not a project where I learned or did techniques that were new to me, but it was still fun and engaging. Maybe even gamified up to a level because I wanted to get to the next color or stripe. This is an important question I ask myself when I'm buying a new pattern. It doesn't exactly apply in this case because it's a free pattern, but my answer is going to be a maybe. It is a classic design, and I do have a few Espace Tricot patterns in my Ravelry because of this reason. The only reason it's a maybe and not an outright yes is because of the yarn and the gauge. I stick to knitting with yarns that are DK or below, and I usually lean towards a sport weight of fingering yarn because of the drape. But I do think that it would be a very good gift knit, and it's mainly because it's a relatively faster knit. The finished design looks great and is easy to integrate into anybody's wardrobe. Plus, it's a blank slate. I love a blank slate patterns because you can add stripes or do some color work or just play around with it. This is definitely one such pattern. And I think if I would make one for myself, because I don't have a raglan jumper, I would knit this in a sport weight, maroon or navy blue, and just have it along as something I can wear on a day-to-day basis. Anyways, until next time, bye bye.